Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome back to our third sessions of this health talk. And as everyone have been informed, today's topic is going to be addictions, the way out. So my name is Gloria, your moderator since the first week. And today we have Dr. Chu speaking to us. For 15 years, Dr. Chu actually has been a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Science in Asia Pacific International University. He also involved in teaching anatomy and physiology to students entering nurse, dentistry, and also medicines. So here's a reminder for everyone that joins us through Zoom and also in Facebook. Do write your questions in the comment sections so that we may able to see what are the confusions or what are the things that you guys want us to let you guys know in details. Okay, so Q&A sessions right after the talk. This time we pass the time to Dr. Chu.
Okay, good afternoon to all of you who are in this Zoom. We welcome you to our topic on addiction. I'm going to present a general view of addictions. I will mention what most of the addictions are, and I will be talking more on the podcast later on many of these addictions one by one. So today we will step into addictions and get a general view of it. So you can see can you see my slide here? You can see my slide here. Okay. Let's go and look at some of the definitions on the given in the Oxford Dictionary, Wikipedia, Cambridge Dictionary, and American Dictionary. Now, in a simplified form, it is actually a fact or condition that a person is being addicted to a particular substance or activity. And it is actually a biopsychosocial disorder. I know in the past it had not been recognized as a disorder before, but right now it is getting recognized as actually a disorder. It is characterized by compulsive engagement in rewarding stimuli. Now, Cambridge Dictionary says an inability to stop doing or using something, especially that something is harmful. American Dictionary, it says the need or strong desire to do or have something, or a very strong liking for something. Now, in an amplified form, it has something to say like this. In this, what I have researched, actually it is a compulsive physiological need for and use of habit-forming substance, which could be like heroin or alcohol or nicotine. And it is characterized by tolerance and a well-defined physiological symptoms upon withdrawal. So addiction has also been used more broadly to refer to compulsive use of a substance known by the user to be physically, psychologically, or socially harmful. That is by Maddox and Desmond in the year 2000. The person becomes addicted to the feel-good aspects of a stimulus. This means this stems from the excitement of the brain's three reward regions, which are the nucleus accumbens, the prefrontal cortex, and the ventral tegmental area. I'll show you a diagram of that afterwards. So drugs and alcohol are the most common associations of addiction. However, people can become addicted to nearly everything that ignites the reward centers of the brain. Now let's take a look at the reward centers of the brain. Here are some of those. You see alcohol mentioned, cocaine, heroin, this gamma hydroxybutyric acid and LSD. Caffeine, I mentioned particularly nicotine, ketamine, and marijuana. All of these actually targets the brain. We'll take a look at the other diagram here. It actually mentions the nucleus accumbens here, and the ventral tegmental area, and this is the prefrontal cortex is here. So if you can look at the neural pathways beginning from the base of the brain, you see all these areas connected. So practically, addiction actually involves the whole brain, the functions of the brain as well, right? The interruptions to the functions of the brain, giving false needs of a person. So the other one, which addictions are actually disorders, and this site, the WHO, actually begins to say that it is a psychiatric disorder. Substances in this context include intoxicants such as alcohol, heroin, or milder stimulants such as caffeine or nicotine. Now, addictions include dependence and other drug use disorders listed under the psychiatric disorders in both the WHO and the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostics and Statistical Manual. That is a 4th revision DSM-4. Okay, so note that psychiatry deals with a branch of medicine focused on diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders. So once addiction is classified as a psychiatric disorder, then the world has begun to recognize that it is not just something, something below the radar of health issues. So it has come up really very significantly to health issues. So it is a form of mental illness, whether we like it or not, because it affects our behavioral dysregulation, which means to say that we can begin to behave in such a way that is not acceptable. And the affective or the emotional problems come in. And then cognitive dysfunctions or impairment of judgment. So most evident in addiction is behavioral dysregulation. Now, so behavior, instead of being regulated by the person, becomes dysregulated. So the behavior can go haywire. So addiction is the problem controlling consumptive behavior. And there is emotional instability and cognitive dysfunctions. These are the two, as far as the behavior is concerned, but may not accompany the disorder. Okay, let's go on. Now, I just want to, in passing, mention the role of genetics and epigenetics in addiction. Now, unfortunately, epigenetics tell us that whatever the parents have, it may not be in the DNA, but the expression of the DNA can be affected by epigenetics. And unfortunately, that can be passed on to the children, to the next generation. So epigenetics of drug abuse is a predisposition or a response. It can be either or both of that. So epigenetics is the regulation of potentially reversible changes in gene expressions that occur without alterations in the DNA sequence. So it may not cause any changes in the DNA, but the regulation itself. The primary mechanism controlling epigenetics inheritance are DNA methylation and chromatin remodeling. So epigenetics modifications can be immediate or accumulate slowly and may be passed on to daughter cells or to successive generations through mitotic or meiotic inheritance. So, but whatever happens in the parents, this can be passed on to the next generation. These epigenetic alterations may be due to inheritance through genomic imprinting, chronic drug use, or pharmacotherapies for the addictions. So just a word on this, because addiction is not just for the person per se, but it could influence his or her next generation. Now here I want to mention top 10 modern society addictions. This is from David Schofield, which is in 2018. Number one is coffee. What is in coffee? Caffeine. Tobacco. What is in tobacco? Nicotine. Third is alcohol. Number four is sex and pornography. Number five, illegal and prescription drugs. Gambling, internet and modern technology, video games, food or eating, and work itself. So these are the 10 listed modern ones, that can cause addiction. Now, later on in the podcast, I will come into more of this individually or one by one. Now, just a word of caution. It is also important to consider that the nature of addiction is difficult to recognize or for the individual to admit. Okay, so obviously, to protect ourselves, we usually do not like to admit our weaknesses or even recognize them. So denial is a problem. Denial is a problem. So when you tell a person or you ask a person, are you addicted? He might actually jump and say, me? Addicted? No. Something like that. So it's actually good for any one of us to check the amount that we use, the frequency, the time duration as well. And each of these things, we need to see whether we are coming close to addiction or not, or maybe far from it, or not at all. But especially when we know that we are close to it or in it, we need to find a safe zone. We might need to what do you call that? Take a trip back, rather than going further and further into it. So the safe zone is actually the average amount each substance or behavior that shouldn't cause harm or damage. Now, when we talk about the safe zone, it is safe for us if it doesn't cause any harm to us or maybe to people who are close to us under normal circumstances. So any excessive use can cause damage to us. So we must recognize that is or are the things that I use or the things that can cause addiction, can cause addiction, affecting me to a point where it can do me damage. Maybe the word damage needs to be defined. So the first one I want to jump into is coffee and tea, because both of them have the same substance like caffeine. That is the addictive substance in coffee and tea. Okay, this is widely used in society, and most people do not think that it can cause addiction. But it is nonetheless, too much of caffeine can cause restlessness, anxiety, muscle tremors, insomnia, and irritability. The safe zone is not more than 5 cups a day or 600 milligrams. Now, I know in this research I'm following, it says 5 cups a day or 600 milligrams. Now, many people, it's hard to really define how much is 5 cups. It depends on how concentrated you use them. But nonetheless, it said the safe zone is within 600 milligrams. Now, I guess perhaps a lot of people who use tea and coffee a lot and since young, 600 milligrams may not mean anything significant to them. But if you are a new starter with 5 cups of coffee or tea, whoa, it might blow your top. In my own experience, it will keep me awake all night. Now, tea leaves actually contain about 3.5% caffeine, while coffee beans have actually 1.1 to 2.2% only. But actually, because we do not, in a cup of tea, we use tea leaves, and compared to a cup of coffee, many times a cup of coffee has more caffeine than tea. And actually, it depends on the concentration. It depends on also the way it is being extracted. The second one is tobacco and nicotine. Okay, it says here, despite the increasing awareness of the dangers of smoking tobacco, it is still the leading contributor to causing health damage worldwide. It says here, there is an incredible 1.3 billion deaths are connected to tobacco use annually. 1.3 billion deaths. If you think of COVID-19, there is nothing in comparison to what tobacco and addiction to tobacco is doing to mankind. The WHO reported that smoking causes 90% of lung cancers in men and 70% of lung cancer in women, and contributes to almost 80% of the cases of respiratory diseases and 22% of cardiovascular diseases. So actually, if you look at that, perhaps it's time for people who smoke to really take a step back. Nicotine is the addictive substance in tobacco, and that keeps people smoking. And the tar and toxic gases from burning tobacco cause most of the damage. So nicotine can cause addiction, but the tar and the toxic gases, when the tobacco burns, cause actually most of the damage. And now that is cancer alone. Cancer out of the picture. The rest of the damage of lung diseases is fantastic. So what is the safe zone for using tobacco? 0. There is not even a small amount is safe. In other words, it is 0%. The third one is alcohol. Now, alcohol in spite of the fact that so many people are taking it, drinking it, using it, enjoying it, so to say, it is a carcinogen. It is, in fact, as addictive and as deadly as most illicit drugs being used out there. Whether you heroin, marijuana, LSD, amphetamines, all these big groups. Now, it is scientifically not just data from non-recognized sources. Scientifically, alcohol is linked to 60 types of diseases. It includes damages to the brain, to the heart, the liver, pancreas, and the immune system. And it also includes multiple cancers, including epilepsy and the social disorder it causes, this murder and vehicular accidents. So what is the safe zone? In this article, it says 14 units of alcohol per week, and that should be spread out over 7 days. 14 units of alcohol per week. Now, for us here in England, both of these, we do not recommend any amount. None is safe. So the number 4 is sex and pornography. The media right now has or offers so much of this, and it is actually an escape from reality that relieves anxiety or to fulfill compulsions. So it says about 8% of men, 3% of women are affected, and it is compulsive. Instead of an expression of love, sex and pornography is just to fulfill an empty shell of an expression of love. Okay, it is a hollow sexual encounter. Number 5, illegal and prescription drugs. Like legal opiates, like oxycontin, is a medication, is being used, can also result in addiction. Instead of just using painkillers or pain relievers, drugs such as cocaine, heroin, amphetamines, lysergic acid, diethylamide, or LSD. Even this, you can find them in the black market and unregulated, and it is unethical and it is highly dangerous. There are 3 groups of drugs here mentioned. These three actually are stimulants, opioids and morphine derivatives, and also depressants mentioned. In the World Drug Report, Indiana, on 24th of June 2021, it says here there's around 275 million people use drugs worldwide in the last year, while over 36 million people suffered from drug use disorders. Now, 275 million, that's quite a bit of people, quite a lot, quite many. And that is worldwide. But many of them perhaps do not get into addiction. But 36 million people suffer from this drug disorder. And once again, the safe zone is 0. Now, number 6 is gambling. Okay. Now, gambling actually causes excitement to the brain, and that's what pushes a gambler to go on, and he becomes addicted to it, because the body releases the dopamine. So, do they lose? Yes, they lose, but the expectation to win again is so strong that will keep them going. That is a problem with gambling. Number 7, the internet and modern technology. Now, today they coin a word called nomophobia. The word phobia is phobia, something that you are afraid of. Nomophobia actually stands for no mobile phone phobia. This means to say that a person is so attached, psychologically attached to his phone, that the moment he doesn't have his phone, he is really, he is rattled with it. And he can be looking for his phone high and low, and he can be so agitated that he can get very angry with people who have misplaced his phone and things like that. So he has desperation and anxiety once he's separated from his phone. Now, actually, it has the same issue. When people can get hold of the mobile phone, can use the computers and things like that, dopamine is being released, so they feel calm, they feel happy. Without it, it is like a withdrawal, and they are so rattled with it. So people spend more and more time on their phones and computers, and less time with the family and friends. And these people, when they will show real discomfort or angry, or they are very stressed if they are separated from the phone side. So that is 7. Number 8 are video games and social media. Now this will also lead to gambling, many of them, and games that they play with, sometimes not only through the day but through the night time. They do that because they feel good. They can feel as if they can escape and feel good about their lifestyle. So this is actually called the internet addiction disorder. Number 9, food. Or we call food abuse or eating disorder. Okay, related to food. And food affects brain chemistry in the same way as drugs do. There are 2% of population have food issues, and most of them today it is lumped as eating disorder, and it stems from emotional and psychological issues. Okay, food appears to be harmless and it is abundant, so food abuse or eating disorder is not uncommon. And food, when they have food, it offers comfort and escape and the satisfaction of compulsion or cravings for feelings that arise in the daily life. So food becomes escape, and people eat more and more, and that can lead to a lot of health problems. So many people are addicted to food, but they are often unaware of the damaging behavior. What is number 10? Work. This is what we call workaholism, and can be a mental health condition. People say, I prefer to work until I drop dead. Or they say, my work is my life. And when this happens, they overlook the health concerns. They overlook personal relationships. So addicts are unable to stop working. And they justify it by saying that work is necessary and it is a responsible thing to do. Now, success in work, gain fame, money, and they become linked to status and self-identity. So people can really fall in love with their work and do not realize that work is actually killing them. So a very sensible work life, a balanced one, is really needed by all of us. Now, can there be other addictions? Shopping nowadays is listed as one addiction. Television, watching television, the drama series, the episodes, and so on and that. Okay, a lot of people tied up into this. And even exercise or even religion can be addictive. Now, I want to mention now and very quickly the steps in breaking addiction. Number one, you need to love yourself enough as to hate hurting yourself. Now, there are people who hurt themselves and they don't even know it. But I would want to say that love is the most important thing. You need to love yourself enough so that you wouldn't do anything to hurt yourself. Number two, allow yourself to see the adverse results of and the consequences of your own addiction. Number three, be aware of and acknowledge the costs and the benefits of quitting. You need to consult professionals many times so that you can be aware and you become knowledgeable. And the costs and the benefits of quitting, you need to know that. Number four, you need to reject addiction. If you want to break away, you need to reject addiction. Whatever your addiction is, decide to quit addiction without compromise. Because if you compromise, you'll never be able to quit that. So you decide to quit. Number six is to inform others about your decision and get the support. Now, this could be family members, colleagues, and roommates or housemates, whoever they are. But one thing I want to say is you can put God in this formula of yours, or this equation, to quit your addiction. Because God, to me, is a divine source of power, which is stronger than I myself and everybody put together. Number seven, set a specific date to begin and endeavor, to begin the endeavor and launch it. This is so important. You need to set a date and you need to launch it. Go into it, kickstart it. Number eight, pick up a good habit or activity that will supersede or replace your addiction. To try to get rid of addiction without replacing it with something good. Many times leave a hollow space is in your life. Right? But when you put something in which is something good, then it's easier to get rid of something bad. So replace a bad habit by forming or pursuing a good one. Now, number nine, expect some degree of difficulty and hardship dealing with withdrawal symptoms. You need to be informed about that too. Number 10, don't give up or quitting. No matter how long it takes, keep doing it. Number 11, look forward with positive expectation to a better quality of life. Sure indeed, after you quit addiction, you will have a better quality of life. You will enjoy life much better than in a life of addiction. It also says here, celebrate each step you accomplish. Now, in other words, you need to recognize what you have accomplished and day by day, week by week, and keep adding on to that. You need to pat yourself on the back and say that, hey, I've taken the first step, the second step, and so on and so on. That is to encourage yourself. Number 13, if possible, encourage someone to quit together with you. They are not alone. So two are stronger than one. Number 14, drink plenty of water to detox. Okay, not wine or tea or coffee or alcohol. 15, sleep 8 hours at night. That is specifically at night. You need to sleep for your body to regain your normal circadian cycle. Number 16, plenty of outdoor or sunlit exercise and plenty of deep breathing. That will also enhance detoxification. Number 17, avoid the places and the people who smoke or drink or play these, games or things like that that was part of your addiction. So because if you are close to these places and close to these people, the temptation may be too strong for you to go right back up. Number 18 is to have a healthful diet and avoid overweight. You need a healthful diet. You need to eat enough and support your body to have good health. So to recap, to end, I want to recap. Addiction is a form of slavery where you are no more free. Number 2, avoid falling into addiction if you are not in it. Number 3, if you are in it, admit that you are addicted and decide to break free from addiction. Number 4, you can't do it alone in breaking away from addiction. You need to seek help from outside yourself. And in particular, I say seek divine help. Number 5, never give up until you are completely free again. No matter how long it takes, how much unpleasantness you go through, but keep on. Quit and do not stop until you quit. Now, number 6, remember, a better life is within your reach and you deserve it. So look at addiction hard on the face and decide to quit, and you can quit and you have a better life after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chu. I've learned so much about today's topic actually, and I hope you do too. So moving on to our Q&A sessions, to let your curiosity be answered today, type it down in the comment box. Okay, so actually, Dr. Chu, this question is for you. The first question goes like this: what is 1 unit of alcohol? I repeat, what is one unit of alcohol? Yes.
I haven't stated in here, but in my coming podcast, there are measurements given in there. So here you don't hear everything from me, but you can go into the podcast later on and see the measurements I given. Okay, yeah, I hope that will help you to look into my other lectures that are coming up.
Okay, what a very good promoter, Dr. Chu. Go to listen to his podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm actually not happy with the listener if he only stops here, because there is so much more that in the other lectures in the podcast I've given, and it will be really very good if you can look into that and learn from there.
Okay.
May I encourage you to do that? Okay, because this is a series of it that you can learn something from, and you can also share it with others as well. Thank you.
So the second question here, Dr. Chu, it says that what are the effects of caffeine to our health? Because many studies are saying it's good, and then
Yes.
how exactly does it
Yeah.
harm us over a long run?
Yeah, one of the things that I think is good is because when they drink coffee, they will stay awake. And when they stay awake, they can do what they want to do. For example, work longer, study longer, and have less sleep. But they think, and they feel that they have the energy. It stimulates the brain power as if. But the unfortunate thing is, yes, when you drink coffee, it lifts you up. It lifts you up. But when it lifts you up, do not forget, where does that energy come from? Does it actually come from the coffee? No. It actually uses more of your nervous energy, your physical energy, in order to step up. And unfortunately, when the stimulant wears away, It drops you lower than where you started. And this makes it dangerous because to feel good again, to feel strong, to feel being productive, you drink again. So it lifts you up again. So actually, the person is, what do you call that? Having a false sense of strength, energy, and mental output. Actually, he is actually living on borrowed energy. So that will cause the person to drink a bit more, and a bit more. And that is where addiction comes in.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers to the question. So the next question goes is like, what are the natural remedies actually that we can help to a person's like overcoming caffeine and nicotine addictions?
Good. I'm glad that you are interested in helping people to overcome this, addictions of this sort. Yeah, I think some of the best thing that you can do is to befriend a person like that who is addicted. Now, as I mentioned earlier, many times that person who is addicted does not know that he or she is addicted. But if you, I have some of these criteria that you can look into to also in the podcast, and you can recognize that the person is addicted. So I think one of the best things to help a person is to make friends, first of all, with that person. Understand him or her, be friends with her or be friends with him. And from there, when you have won the confidence of that person, and that is where you can start helping that person to see and realize where he or she is in the addiction, and to tell her ways and means to get out of that addiction. Win the confidence of that person first. You cannot start by scolding him or scolding her or what do you call that, degrading her or him in the eyes of the public and things like that. It just doesn't. You push that person further away, and it makes it impossible to reach that person again. So to me, the first step is make friends with that person, sympathize with him, sympathize with her, and work together with her, or work together with him, or work together with them.
Okay, so in short, is a support that is needed
Yes.
most.
Yes.
Alright, so for the next question, actually there's two more questions coming. It says
Okay.
here, would you recommend hormonal injection to stabilize hormonal imbalance that actually leads to homosexuality? How to overcome sodomy habit?
Okay. Now, when you talk about hormonal injections, that may be useful if truly there is a hormonal imbalance. Okay. Now, I think that has to be medically decided that there is a hormonal imbalance. Okay. Now, there may be also problems which is psychological rather than really a physiologic kind of imbalance. Now, there are people who might have what we call gender identity problems. There may be males, and but they identify themselves as females. There are females that identify themselves as males, but others may truly be hormonal. Or of course the other problem could be is because of feminization, the genitals might be ambiguous, the way they are born and things like that. So one is medical, the other one may be psychological. So I guess the best is really for the person or individual to go and see, go to the clinic, meet a doctor and have a good talk with the doctor first to see whether it's truly physical or medical, or it is psychological.
Okay, so Dr. Chu doesn't really recommend directly hormonal injections, but
No.
go through with the doctor first, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
please follow that.
the next one is about alcohol addiction, Dr. Chu. It says
Yeah.
that how does a professional help these persons that have alcohol addictions, and how long does it take?
Hmm. Good question. Now, in alcohol addiction, I have mentioned quite a lot about that one. Maybe for today, alcohol addiction is one of the addictions in which we call cold turkey treatment, which means to stop abruptly, may not be safe for the person. But for tobacco, nicotine, or caffeine addiction, yes, it is more possible, where a person without professional help can be able to break away and break free. But for alcohol, if the alcohol consumption is in large amounts and the addiction has been long, there can be delirium mind when a person breaks away from alcohol. When the body is not given the alcohol, suddenly they may have tremors and they go into delirium mind. And in that case, they really need hospital care, or at least in a clinic where somebody who can monitor the progress of the person seriously, maybe not only day to day, but maybe hour by hour monitoring of the person. So yes, they need to have professional help. Yes.
Okay, so in short, what a professional can help is depending on how long
Yes.
and how severe the addiction
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We truly want to thank you. I think so far that's all the questions that we have for you, Dr. Chu. Now we go to the audience. If you find today's topics is very beneficial, feel free to share it to others that you know would need it. If you want to listen again, you can find this video in our YouTube channels. And before you go, our online class subscriptions is always open and the promotions will end this September. And another good news is that Anon Healthcare plan to open our health program on November 20th. Okay, so November 20th. If you want more details on this, do call us because we are always ready and happy to attend your questions. Thank you everyone for joining us. Bye.
All right.